I am Lynn, Elikqitie Smargis, and I am here again this week for another Ask Me Anything live. I do ghostwriting and book editing for my clients. Let me take off my sweater so you can see my Right For You t-shirt. So I hope you all are having a great week. I do these lives every Wednesday from 9:05 to about 9:20. So it's about 15 minutes. And I do this so that you can come on and ask me any of your writing and publishing questions, because I know I get a lot of different questions. And another way you can check out some answers to uh, commonly asked questions by checking out my podcast. It's called Publishing for Professionals. It's on Apple Podcasts and all the major podcast players. Well, welcome, my friends who are here. Hi, Mike. And let me see if I can see the other names on here. I cannot. But anyway, thank you for coming and joining me this week. We're going to talk more about the fear of writing, because this is a common fear new authors and even returning authors have. And that is fear about the work itself, right? Fear that their writing is boring, derivative. It's just apropos. Someone else has already written it. Why am I writing this? So that is a very common fear. And it can easily be dispelled by just going on Amazon and searching who's been writing about it. You can also search blogs, like go on, I use Coggy for my search engine. You can go on Google and just search the topic and see who's written what on it. And that's a really easy litmus test and gauge to see if what you're writing is a new topic, if it's not a new topic. And a lot of times it's not, it's just a variation of a topic, which is perfectly fine. And if you take a topic like some type of process or pyramid, and then you add your own personal style or brand to it, then it is a new article or a new topic or a new podcast episode or a new book. So like there's a lot of books out there, right? But all of them talk about different processes in different ways. There's not a lot of brand new ideas out there, because a lot of the ones we have, um, a lot of the ideas that we have and people are coming out with in books are built on a previous idea and or platform, right? And then we just extend that and bring it to the next step. So excuse me, a lot of people have a fear of plot holes, weak characters, or poor structure. And that makes sense, because structure, characters, if you're writing fiction, it's really, really hard to do character development. And it's really easy to have a plot hole, because a lot of times when we're typing, our head is telling us one thing, and we don't always type everything out that's in our head. So you may not catch those plot holes and things like that. Um, so fear that you're breaking the rules without knowing it, breaking writing rules. And so the way that you know that is by hiring a professional editor, right? So if you are writing a book, I always recommend hiring a professional editor. I do nonfiction developmental and line editing. Mike McConnell, who's on this call, does copy and proof. So we do editing, like professional editing for people's books. So if you're not sure if your quality of work is good or if it's like publisher ready, I would definitely recommend hiring a professional editor. And that way you don't have to worry about any type of weak characters or poor structure or organization in your book. So if you're looking for a really good developmental, or you're looking for a really good way to figure out about organization and structure of your book, that's a developmental editor. If you think your structure and your development of your book is good, then your next step would be a line editor, where someone goes through your book line by line to help correct words and things like that for flow. All right. So, fear that you're breaking. Oh, no, weird though. Fear that your work is not literary, like a good literary standard, or serious enough. Again, this goes back to hiring an editor, getting professional help, especially if you've never written a book before, right? The only exception that I've seen was someone that I talked to yesterday, and both his parents were professional writers. So he grew up in a household where he learned about professional writing and how to write professionally his whole entire life. So get a professional editor to look over your work, because that's going to make the difference between your work looking like it's just, like someone just wrote it and threw it up on a bookshelf, and an actual professional book. All right, sharing and publishing. People always have fear of judgment, right? From friends, families, and strangers. And let me tell you a really quick story. I had a client once who, like actually more than once, it's happened probably about a couple, 2 or 3 times, where I have literally ghostwritten their content and they never publish it because they're afraid of what people are going to say about it. Now, it doesn't matter who you are or what you publish, there's always going to be someone who is criticizing your work, like, and not in a good way, right? So don't worry about that because you honestly can't control anything anyone else does. The only thing you can control is what you do. So friends, make sure you put any of your questions that you have about writing or publishing in the chat. Hi, Roger. Thanks for joining today. So put any questions you have about any subject in the chat. Today, we're talking about fear that writers have. And so we're talking about fear of judgment from friends, families, or strangers. So that little story I just told you about where I had literally 2 or 3 clients pay me to write their entire book and never publish it. It was literally because they were afraid of judgment of others, right? So no matter what you do, you're always going to be judged by others. We can't control that. So you have to figure out a way to let that go if you want to publish a book, because you're never going to publish your book if you're constantly scared of what others are thinking of you. And even if you do publish your book, it's going to be nerve-wracking, right? Thinking about that. But there's no use in spending your time and energy worrying about that because that is outside of your control. So, um, fear of negative reviews or criticism. There's also a fear new authors have of being ridiculed or canceled for what they write. Now, canceling is not like a really big thing if you're self-publishing. So that's really not what a lot of people are worried about. Fear that no one's going to read their work. This is a big one. Like I get this from a lot of my clients. And so fear that that no one's going to care to read a book like that. I don't think I've ever seen that happen, honestly. Definitely not with any of my clients' books. My clients do a pretty decent job of marketing their book. And so marketing your book is going to help get it in the right hands. How you market it is going to help get it in the right hands. I just talked with somebody yesterday who's going to be on my podcast interview about her marketing technique. And while she is doing the marketing, I don't think she was marketing to the correct audience, right? Like she wasn't targeting her marketing, and targeting your marketing is really important. Okay, so we've got a question. And it's from Mike. It says, Lynn, when you wrote your first book, what was your biggest fear, if any, and how did you push past it to finish? Oh, thanks. That's a great question. So my first book I wrote was The Guide to Traveling Gluten-Free, and that published in 2020, which was not a great year to publish a travel guide. I still sold some copies. And so it was actually a guide that I made from my podcast, Travel Gluten-Free. And I don't know. I guess my biggest fear with that was like nobody was going to actually do the things in the book, or that I guess like people would read the book and find it that it wasn't valuable. And I come to find out because I was doing gluten-free expos and selling my books, I've actually had people come up to me at my table and said, we literally thought we could never travel again because we're celiac and we have food allergies, but we read read your book, and we literally just booked our first cruise and or travel vacation in 3 years, or several years. I've had a few people tell me that. So, and here's the thing, my friends, like your fears are literally that. They're your fears, right? They're things our head likes to make up to feel better, because it's like, oh, okay. And that sounds weird, but that's what our brains are wired to do. Our brains are wired to seek fear and be like, oh, okay. Because if we know that fear, then we can control what we're feeling. But that's also a lot of energy that your mind has to use. So don't worry about all those things, right? The only things you want to be concerned about and want to put your time and effort into are any components that you can control. Okay. So like with my book, that was a fear of mine, but I just had to literally push it aside and be like, if people don't understand how to use the things I put in my book, then maybe I did a bad job of writing it, and then I could rewrite it. But I know I did a good job of writing it. I did a decent job of writing it. And so anyway, it did end up working out just fine. And most things do, right? Like these fears that we have are typically ones that we make up and then are not even based on realistic stuff. Now, that doesn't mean all of our fears are not based on anything realistic, because some of them are, but we need to learn what types of emotions we want to put our time and energy into especially when we're writing a book, and what things we should not, right? Because there's only very few things we can control is what we do and how we react to things. Okay. So, and that's literally all we have under our control. So remember that when you're writing your book. Um, fear of rejection from publishers, agents, or readers. So here's the thing I want to tell all my friends and future authors who are watching me today. If you are going for a traditional or hybrid publisher, you're going to be rejected, right? And if that really stresses you out, then don't go with a hybrid or a traditional publisher. I mean, on average, it takes someone 2 to 3 years to find a publisher that's going to accept their work, right? That doesn't mean it's published yet. That just means they found somebody that's like, yeah, we'll take you on. So if that fear is really pervasive in your mind, I would say either get rid of it and understand that you're going to have rejections and expect them, or self-publish your book, because you won't have the fear of being rejected by a hybrid or a traditional publisher if you're self-publishing, because you are publishing your own work on Amazon or wherever you're publishing your work. Okay. So keep that in mind. All right. If you have any other questions today, please write them in the chat. It does not have to be around today's topic. It can be on any topic of writing and publishing you have that you are currently challenged with in your writing process. So before we hop off today, I have an awesome virtual writing retreat that is coming up, not this Friday, but the Friday after on November 14th. It's at 8 a.m. Pacific, and I would love for you to join me. I will put the sign up form underneath this video in the article. So make sure that you sign up on the forum so you get the emails and the Zoom link for the virtual writing retreat. There's no cost, and this is the last one I'm doing at no cost. And so the virtual writing retreats I have for next year are going to have a cost associated with them. So definitely come and check out the virtual writing retreat. Everyone that was on the last virtual writing retreat had a great time. We made some awesome goals. We had some fabulous takeaways, and I know you will too if you join us on the virtual writing retreat. And everyone met a lot of other professionals who are really, working towards getting their next book or their first book rough draft finished. So I hope this was really helpful in explaining fears and how to maybe possibly eliminate them from your space, because fear is the one thing that's going to hold you back from doing what you love. It's going to prevent you from getting to your goals. And it's also going to make you make bad decisions, right? Like, I've never heard of anybody like having a lot of fear around something, making a decision on it and it coming out well, right? Because we don't think clearly when we're afraid, especially when that fear has a grip on us. So learn a way to just let go of the fear, right? And one thing I will leave you with is that someone I heard on a podcast one time, what's on the other side of fear? And it's nothing, right? Like, it's all in our head. It's literally all the stuff that we make up. And we have control over what's in our head, right? Because we can decide not to listen to that voice in our head. So, my friend, don't listen to that fear voice in your head. Sign up for my virtual writing retreat next week so you can see other authors who are also having the similar challenges and moving past them, right? It's really inspirational. And we had a really, really fun time. It wasn't just work. We had some really fun conversations as well. All right, my friends, I hope you're having a fabulous week. Thank you for joining me this week on my Ask Me Anything Live. I really appreciate your time because there's lots of things you could be doing right now. So join me next week again at 9:05 Pacific, 12:05 Eastern for another Ask Me Anything Live. Until then, I hope you have a great day. Bye.